Well, good afternoon. We're going to call the meeting to order.
Ask 4 of these.
Thank you. We're going to call the March 18th, 2024 meeting of the CRC to order. We'll start by having the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead it today. We'll have the roll call by our clerk, Craig.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Member Batchelor. Here. Member Jackson. Here. Member De La Portilla. Here. Member Weinsberg.
Here.
Member Collin. Here. Member Arias. Member Riley.
Here.
Member Wynn.
Here.
Chair Hardage.
Here.
Vice Chair Shira.
Here.
Member Grimmer.
Here.
Member Baga.
Here.
Member O'Neill.
Here.
Member Staccardo.
Here.
Member Adamson Prophet. Do you have a quorum?
Thank you. We have a quorum. We will start the meeting off as usual with comments by the Vice Chair and by the Chair. My comments will go first, and they will be very similar to the comments that I had at our last meeting. And first of all, I trust that all of you enjoyed your week off or your month off, except for committee chairs. Committee chairs got to work through our break month, but we appreciate you all continuing your work as we move forward. This phase of our process began 3 meetings ago when we received our first final committee report. It was a report from the Public Banking Committee. Chair Member Prophet recommended that item not move forward, and the board agreed with that. At our prior meeting, the governmental structure brought back a proposal that had passed through their committee to create a rural boundary. That report was forwarded back to the committee for further study to come back to the board. The board will follow the same procedure in meetings going forward. As we look at committee reports, we'll be looking for 3 things. One will be to accept the report of the committee as presented. The second would be to reject the report of the committee. And the third would be to accept with proposed changes and then remand the issue back to the committee. And I will acknowledge to the board that sending an item back to the committee does not guarantee that it will come out of the committee and does not guarantee that it will come out of the committee with the changes that you recommended. Procedurally, we'll follow the bylaws. No proposed ballot issue shall be subject to a final vote of the CRC until it has been on the agenda for discussion and consideration at a minimum of 2 CRCs. This would be considered as one of those CRC meetings. At the time of the second reading, it would be carried by a simple vote. Any meeting of the CRC to consider a second vote shall be properly noticed to the public, as are all our meetings. Having said that, today, we will vote on items. We will not be voting on any items for the ballot. In case there's some confusion about that, we'll only be voting to move things out of committee. The public shall be allowed 3 minutes to speak, which will be at our regular member comments. Following that, we'll have comments from the board. At this stage, the board, if they have any questions of anyone that has been here to give comments, they're welcome to call that person back up for further answers or deliberation if they choose. Having said that, that's how we'll move forward, and they are the same instructions that we used the last time, and unless there are some objections, that's how we'll move forward. One change. On the last item, which is a report by the Governmental Structure Committee, it's listed as one agenda item, but I'm going to break that up into 2 agenda items. One will be the separation of powers and the expansion of commission district. Did I get that right, staff? There are 3 items there.
Yeah. If you're going to break it up between the ones that are recommending no change versus recommending a change, the ones recommending no change would be CRC frequency and separation of powers.
Yes, that's my intention. So those 2 will go first, and then we'll have a vote up or down on those that are recommended for no changes, and then that will be followed by a presentation by our committee chair, Mr. Della Patea, who will have a PowerPoint presentation. We'll hear his PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll follow as per the instructions. Any questions, any concerns?
Mr. Chairman, is there a place on the agenda for either you or your council to report on the preemption bill passed on the rural boundaries by the legislature?
You're welcome to bring that up to council, and the council can address it, or we can get the comments and bring them back. But you're welcome to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it'll be in member discussion if that's okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Co-Chair. We have no comments from Vice Chair Lee Shirer. We will proceed with the public comments. Staff will call them as they have been presented. They will be allowed 3 minutes.
Chair, I apologize for being late. If you recognize me for the record.
Thank you. We recognize Member Arias as being present, and Member, give me the name, I lost it. Prophet as being present. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Chair, I have 4 comment cards. The first speaker is Mark Bender. Mr. Bender. He has yielded his time to you, so you will have 4 minutes.
He'll actually have 6 minutes. Oh, 2 and
3 and then plus 1. He
3
gets
plus
1
1.
minute from.
okay.
Good evening. My name is Mark Bender. I'm at 1857 Oak Lane here in Orlando in the Audubon Park area. Let me just preface by saying I've been a lawyer here in Orlando for 38 years. I like to think of myself as kind of knowledgeable, but I was really unaware of the charter,
Mr.
and even
Bender.
more unaware.
Mr. Bender,
Yes.
I want to interrupt you just 1 second. I know you're going to make a great presentation, but I overlooked our commissioner in the audience, Member Scott.
Oh, of course.
Yes. Commissioner Scott, as soon as Mr. Bender finishes, if you'd like comments, we would certainly welcome them.
Did you want to go now? Okay.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Bender.
So I was even more unaware that there was a Charter Review Commission every 4 years. And I have to say, I've been attending meetings since May, I believe it's May, and it's a very educational process. And let me say that you guys have done a lot of hard work. And there's been a lot of meetings that I've attended, but I've enjoyed it. I'm here to speak out on 3 things. The first is, I believe it's been passed by the governmental structures by vote for the full commission, and that is to expand the county commission from 6 to 8, making it actually from 7 to 9 when you count Mayor Demings. The Orange County GOP, which I'm a member, is opposed to this increase in more county government. I spoke with former Commissioner Scotty Boyd earlier today, and he said, and this is, I think, a very good point, that population growth by itself should not be an avenue for more county commissioners. Population growth by itself is just a number. It's what do the county commissioners do, what is their job title, etc. So I think we need to look at population growth as a barometer, but not as a basis to cost the taxpayers about $500,000 for each office, plus a lot of extra money for the redistricting, the cost to the supervisor elections for mounting this. So it's a substantial cost. Now, on a budget of $6.7 billion, it's not much. But again, government never contracts. It always expands. We never see a diminution of government. It always increases. I don't think there's a need for any additional commissioners in this county. And I would urge you to vote against it when it comes up for a vote. Thank you. Now, it has not come out of governmental structures yet, but they're going to be voting on expanding the term limits of those commissioners, whether it be 6 or 8. We're again opposed to that. 8 years, I believe, and the Orange GOP believes that that's a sufficient amount of time to be a county commissioner. 8 years is a long time. I hope I make it another 8 years. One other thing I'd like to point out, Mr. Boyd brought up, is if there's going to be voting for expansion of the commission, I would wonder if anyone here voting would be allowed to run for those extra seats, because that would appear to be a conflict of interest if that's what you're voting for. And I just thought that was an interesting thing to bring up. I had not thought of that. The third thing has been brought up for a vote by the Petitions Initiative, is to reduce the number for percentages on the ballot to bring about a petition initiative from 10% to 5%, and for a charter amendment, and 7 to 3 for an ordinance change. And again, the Orange GOP is against reducing those numbers. While things should be easy for people, we shouldn't make it too easy. Things need to be addressed. I think that's not one of them. And so we would ask you to urge no dilution of the percentage for any ballot initiative. We think the numbers are correct. They were well thought out years ago. That's all I have. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next speaker
next,
is Nelson Betancourt. If you'll please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
He's so cute.
Mr. Frank, is this yours? Hello?
Mark?
Oh,
Mark.
Okay.
Mark?
Oh, it's a pointer. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nelson Betancourt, 5350 East Cayley Street, Orlando, Florida. I'd like to talk about the, recently there was a move to annex the Sun Bridge into Orlando. And I think this comes at the heels of this initiative, the Rural Boundary Initiative. I think this must have spurred this decision by the city of Orlando to annex this land. I don't agree with that at all. I think rural areas are where the county needs to have a responsibility. Urban, suburban is where the city needs to be involved. However, I think this opens up a really good venue, because in light of Vision 2050, we need to be looking at how can we create a more stable, more sustainable, and more compact area for people to live in. So I think this opens the door to the possibility of a study, to study the idea of creating a joint planning department between the city and the county. I know there's been some talk about this since 1994, I believe, where they discussed doing some joining departments, joint planning, and I think this would be a good opportunity for just the planning department. I know that Mr. Rich here, when he ran for public office, suggested things like fire protection, garbage collection, and law enforcement. Well, that may be way down the road a piece, but I think that the planning idea, the joint idea of the city and the county working together to do planning, especially in light of the Vision 2050, it's a very, very worthwhile thing to look at. And to my colleague, Mark, I would like to say that I'm very much in support of the adding two districts, or two county commission districts, exactly because of the population. And also, I don't want to see the extension of the commissioners, beyond 8 years. And again, to echo my friend, Mr. Mark, I think you are the best CRC that's ever been put together in this place. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the last speaker card, Chair. Louis Ogwin.
Mr. Open, thank you. Did we pronounce that correctly? Got it.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. My first time ever speaking here, so I'm a little nervous. Be gentle. My name is Louis Ogwin. I'm part of the District 5 Neighborhood Advisory Council with Commissioner Evelyn Bonilla that leads it. And I'm here representing the group, and we have come to the consensus that we are for the urban, the rural boundary to be put into place. Besides being on this commission, my normal day job, I'm a civil engineer. I'm licensed in the state of Florida, and my specialty is hydraulics and infrastructure. You know, I've designed 528, 408, 417, and, you know, I've kind of see the way Orlando is spreading. And all we have are little pockets of green in this county, and I think we need to conserve it. I think we need to make a good plan towards it. It's expensive. You know, you put this infrastructure out in these areas, it's hard to swallow. You know, I know there's only limited of money. I'm not in politics, I'm an engineer, but I manage the financials of the engineering of the projects, how much the pipes on the roads are going to cost, and it's expensive. And, you know, in discussions that we have had, we've said, hey, let's focus on the core of Orlando. Let's put all the money there. Let's build up. Let's develop smartly. You know, I grew up in East Orange County all my life, Union Park. I went to University High School. My mom lives right next to Valencia Community College, so I'm very familiar with the area. I go hiking there, and it's a beautiful area. I hope all of you guys and women, ladies, get the chance to go out there. I take my dog hiking. It's beautiful. Let's conserve that area. It's beautiful. You know, save the county money also by not putting expensive infrastructure projects within that area as well. And, you know, in discussion that we should have, you know, I'm all for having this rural boundary that's developed smartly, but you know, we want to put this on the ballot. On the 2024 ballot, we want to make the citizens the ones that decide, hey, is this what you want? Do you want to maintain little green spots in Orange County? There's not a lot left. You look at an aerial, fly an airplane, everything is developed. Orange County, a little bit past the Econ River, that's the last big tracts of land that we have left, and let's conserve it. And if it does get developed, let's do it smartly. Let's not just bulldoze as quickly as possible. And, you know, there's nothing. My childhood, I spent it out in the woods out there in that area, and hopefully your kids and your grandchildren might have that same experience that I had. And yeah, so yeah, that's in conclusion. We want to support, as representative of the District 5 Advisory Council, we support putting on the ballot for 2024 and let the citizens decide. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you. Will you give us your address for the records?
My address is 301.
To the mic, please.
My address is 301 McJordan Avenue.
Thank you.
I do not have any more cards, Chair.
Yes, Commissioner, if you like. Would you like 12 minutes or would you need more?
I didn't know you were a part-time comedian and just the chairman. Good evening, commissioners, comptroller, and county staff, members of the public. My name is Michael Scott. I'm the Orange County Commissioner for District 6. My address is 201 South Roslyn, Orlando, Florida, 32801. I really didn't have an agenda to speak tonight. The Honorable Commissioner Prophet said they're going to make you speak anyway, and she was wise in that. But I will say, from what I've seen and what I've read, you all are doing a really good job. My advice would be, remember why you were here, not who appointed you. You're not an appointee of Commissioner Scott or the mayor or whatever commissioner, but you are an appointee of this community, and your job, which I know you're well of, but I feel like I should remind you, is just to do what you believe is best in the community based on the information presented to you at any given time. I try not to look at things through the lens of right and wrong because we all have different experiences that shape how we move or don't move. I have the fortune of being the first and currently only county employee to be elected county commissioner. When you look at previous county employees, mayor was director of public safety, Pete Clark was director in CEDSP, the alphabet name. It changes so many times, the name of that department. But I think that I bring a perspective that hasn't been here before. And I don't want to tell any of you my passions. I think that you can look at some of the people that I've worked with, maybe looked at some of my past comments or some of my work and kind of understand what's important to me. And I guess I should say it, like what's important to me is family. No matter where we're from, what we do, everything that we do comes back to family, the people that we love and the people that we care about. And I think family should always inform the decisions that we make or don't make, especially when it comes to how this county is going to grow, how this organization is going to run in the future. One thing I want to point out that some of you may know, some of you may not, as a candidate, I met with a number of people and they shared that, the reason why they didn't like Orange County is the processes and how they would want to do business with any other county other than Orange County because it's not as efficient. Many of you have seen in the news the annexation or proposed annexation by the city of Orlando of a lot of property on the east side. And that's because the property owner thinks that we are not efficient, we're not as fast, and they think they can get a better service from the city of Orlando. And that's not right or wrong, it's just, it is what it is. And so as you all continue your deliberations, I would just ask that you remember family, remember that, you know, we may not get it all right this time, but just remember family. And then as it relates to my goal, I'm just looking for something more efficient. I am not the smartest guy in the room, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't know what I don't know, but I can tell you in my 13 months or so being in this role, there are some things that you all can address to make this more efficient for the commissioners and the mayor. It's not about what's better for the mayor or better for the commissioners. It's about what changes you can propose to the voters that makes it a more efficient process so that we can do the things that we were elected to do. For those that haven't, I would encourage you to reach out to the commissioners and ask for clarification. You know, I'm a pretty direct person. What I say is what I mean, and if I misspeak, please ask me for clarification and I'll provide it. But I do appreciate the time, Chairman, that you've allowed me to speak and say hello, and I just encourage you all to do what you do. You've been doing a lot of work for free. And so I just want to again say thank you. I said that before in the previous meeting in my district, and I know that, you know, whatever shapes out through your committees and what ultimately makes it to the ballot, I know it'll be what is supposed to be. So thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate it. I want to also acknowledge Roseanne Harrington, who is in the audience from the mayor's office. Wave your hand. Thank you for attending. We'll now have brief comments from the board about any of the comments from the public. And I've been nudged by Member Nguyen. Member Nguyen is acknowledged.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tech.
You
good.
Yeah, you are now.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending our meeting. And thank you, Commissioner Scott, for your words of wisdom.
Hey, Ms. Dottie.
I just want to correct Mr. Bender. You said all the members voted.
Oh, the mic is on. Staff.
It's not right. They don't want me to talk. It's on, okay. It's on now?
Testing.
Testing? No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is. I can hear you.
We're flexible.
I just want to speak to Mr. Bender. You said that everyone had voted to add additional commissioners. I didn't realize I had, but I talked to the chair, and I am refraining. I'm not voting to add. I want you to know that I am against that for many reasons.
I should have pointed that out.
Mr. Bender. Mr. Bender. Mr. Bender. Mr. Bender. No comments from the audience, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Batchelor, Member Batchelor.
again, in as much as one person testified regarding rural boundaries, would this be appropriate time for council to advise us on that, or you still want me to wait until the end?
No, sir. I think this would be more than appropriate.
Members, good evening. As you may have seen in the Orlando Sentinel, there were some developments up at the Florida legislature before. Can you all hear me okay? It sounds like there's some metallic echo. All right, I'll do my best here. There were some developments up at the Florida legislature before the session was over concerning and relating to the rural boundary amendment. There was a floor amendment introduced by Senator Ngolia in one of the last, second to last week before the end of session that introduced an amendment to a bill. I'm pulling up the language here because it's short but relevant. An amendment to a bill that otherwise had to do with the Department of Commerce, which does involve land planning and so on. Adding to a particular statute the following language: a citizen-led county charter amendment that is not required to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners, preempting any development order, land development regulation, comprehensive plan, or voluntary annexation, is prohibited unless expressly authorized in a county charter that was lawful and in effect on January 1, 2024. Now, I will offer to the members that is not the model of artful drafting. I had to do a lot of thinking about what they might mean by a citizen-led county charter amendment, because as I'm under the understanding right now that, for example, all the members of the Board of County Commissioners are citizens of the United States. But in any event, that language is what was introduced in a floor amendment. And then there was explanation from the senator. The senator in floor discussion and debate explained that that amendment was intended specifically to preempt a pending charter amendment, and it was in reference to a question from Senator Linda Stewart asking about her county, Orange County. And Senator Ngolia indicated, yes, a pending charter amendment in your county, in Orange County. And then went on to explain that what was included and what was excluded, it applied to that charter amendment, but did not apply to 3 other instances of county charters. I have to imagine those 3 are Seminole, Alachua, and Sarasota. And that's been commonly the discussion in the committee as to other charter counties with provisions somewhat similar to the Rural Boundary Amendment in one way or the other. And so in that floor explanation, it was made clear that the intention of this amendment was to preempt the Rural Boundary Amendment that was coming through. At this point, because of the unique way it's drafted, I could not tell you 100% how that all would pan out in court or what have you, but with it being very clearly stated in floor debate precisely what it was intended to do and who it was intended to target, I would suggest it would be pretty clear to a judge that that's what it was getting at. In any event, that language was in fact added to that Senate bill. That Senate bill then made its way over to the House. There was a similar House bill. That House bill was laid on the table. It was put away. And the House adopted the Senate bill, which means it was adopted by both the House and Senate. It's now an act. It has not been sent to the governor yet, but it will be. And so it will be before the governor whether to veto that entire bill or to approve that entire bill. When that will occur, don't know. As a fellow member can explain to you, there's a lot of strategy in deciding when House and Senate leadership send over bills to the governor for review and approval and so on. So I don't know when we're going to have final action from the governor on that, but currently the advice I would give you is that is out there in an act that could be signed by the governor that has been very expressly stated to drill down to preempt the current form of the Rural Boundary Amendment.
Mr. Batchelor has served in the legislature. What's your take on that?
Well, it's you don't want my take on the Florida legislature doing preemptive legislation.
Just on the bill itself.
Well, just on the bill, obviously. It was, obviously, it was intentional. It never went through a committee, never went to a subcommittee. And obviously somebody influenced the Senate President to offer the amendment, which she did. And I think it's very clear. My only question that I would have is that, does that preclude any rural boundaries?
Mr. Batchelor, can you speak up a little bit?
And does that, my question to council, is that language preclude any rural boundaries charter amendment, notwithstanding JPAs or city agreements or whatever, so it's just none at all?
It's a very good question. The reading this language the way it was explained by the senator, okay, it's actually relatively narrow. Happens to be narrow right on target of what the committee of the CRC had been considering, but it's relatively narrow. It's addressed to, as I said, a citizen-led county charter amendment that's not required to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Reading in the floor discussion on what that language is intended to mean, I would take that to mean one from, say, for example, a charter amendment proposed by a charter review commission, or probably also by an initiative petition process. Okay. It would not encompass a charter amendment proposed, for example, by the Board of County Commissioners. All right, and keep in mind what it's zeroing in on. It's zeroing in on any charter amendment of that particular origin, right, that preempts development orders, land development regulations, comprehensive plans, or voluntary annexations. Now, I will tell you on two of those, the rural boundary amendment, as it had been proposed, or any species of it that had been discussed, does not preempt any development order. It does not preempt any annexation, all right? In fact, preempting an annexation would be contrary to general law. Preempting a development order at very minimum would invite a Burt Harris claim. Right. When it comes to the other two, though, preempting a land development regulation or preempting a comprehensive plan, that is in effect what part of the rural boundary amendment was, to say in a given area, the county comprehensive plan and land development regulations will preempt municipal regulation if and when the city comes to be in that area in the future. So it doesn't lock it out entirely. It locks it out from quote unquote citizen-led county charter amendments that are not required to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And it does not, I don't think, in any way interfere with joint planning processes or anything like this.
So, Mr. Chairman, for clarification then, so it really is a blanket preemption. We know what their legislative intent was, and as you know, and when you're in a litigation, legislative intent carries as much weight as the actual language in the bill. So the only option, that I think what I heard you say was that the county could still pass a charter amendment on rural boundaries themselves, but it cannot come from the Charter Review Commission.
To your question, I think hypothetically, the Board of County Commissioners could, by ordinance, propose a charter amendment looking like, for example, the one that had been proposed by that committee, and it would not be subject to the restrictions of this.
So my last point, Mr. Chairman, is that I would suggest that anybody who's been, and that we've had many, many people testify in support of this, their audience here going forward is going to have to be the county commission if they want to get rural boundary passed, a charter amendment passed, but by the county and not the CRC. So that's my understanding, Councilor.
And I was going to be discussing this more in depth with the committee, in particular about potential options and so on. That would seem to be for those in favor of it, maybe one of them. One thing I would note, and what either the committee or the full CRC or the public would do with this is up to them. This floor amendment, now in this act, preempted a particular part of the rural boundary amendment. Remember, there are two things going on in that rural boundary amendment. One was the preemption of municipal land use regulation in certain areas. The other was setting supermajority vote thresholds for certain decisions, particularly comprehensive plan amendments, increasing density or intensity. And that's the most relevant to it because the other one is tied to the first. So that second one, supermajority vote requirement for comprehensive plan amendments increasing density or intensity, that piece is not touched by, as far as I can read, is not touched by this language stuck into this bill.
Mr. Chairman, administrative question. So should it go back to the committee and let the committee work with the cities and the counties and et cetera to see if they can refine the proposed rural boundaries amendment to comport with the new legislation? Is there anything we can salvage?
I would suggest that we amend that request just a little bit and have legal staff provide more detailed explanation to the committee, and then make the determination about who to meet within the committee. Okay. The issue that comes to mind is that nearly anything that we do in this board can be preempted by the legislature. So if we make that our barometer, then we're going to continually be in trouble. Also, nothing that this committee does goes back before the Board of County Commissioners. We bypass the county commission by their own structure. So we operate as a citizen group beyond the reach of the county commission. And those are the type things that the legislature is somewhat opposed to currently. And I reflect back on comments that were made by the mayor at our very first meeting. It wasn't about any particular item that may come before this board or anything that may go before the voters, but that we could put ourselves in a position where the legislature could actually, the word void comes to my mind, could actually preempt the entire charter of all 7 counties. So those are the kinds of things that put us at risk. So I've always led our committee chairs to keep in mind that first things are always the first thing. And the first thing is protecting our value to function as a charter county. First thing is always the first thing. So that is still my recommendation. So I would suggest that be deliberated in committee. We have a very capable committee chair. He'll structure that and bring it back to us with a recommendation up or down. And they are well equipped with counsel and, of course, with Mr. Batchelor and the rest of us here of crafting something that works. There's tremendous interest in this from the public, but also there is tremendous opposition to it. So we've got to thread a pretty narrow opening here.
Thank you, sir.
So that would be my recommendation, if that's acceptable to the chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
That does not require a motion, does it?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We have 2 people on the queue. One is Member O'Neill, and then Vice Chair Shira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Would you like 12 minutes, Mr.?
Can I have 14?
I'm going to get called on that one day.
Just wait for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Yeah, it's not coming through.
Can you hear me? Can you pass the mic?
Yes,
Use your outside voice.
we can.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing,
There you go.
1,
Now
2.
you got it.
Okay, I think we're
You
good.
got it.
Thank you, Member Batchelor, for bringing this up. I know it's a important matter to many people who have come forward and spoken on behalf of a rural boundary. The gentleman, and you did a great job for your first time, by the way, giving public comment. I think there are ways, more than one way, to skin a potato, right? The English language is a beautiful thing. The legislature has adjourned. I think that there is a way to come up with something that will address the concerns. We still have a couple really good ideas in the works regarding preservation of wetlands and providing basically a financial impact for subdivisions that would be moved into that area that would advise the county commission as to the long-term cost of subdivision. So these 2 things kind of go towards the same thing. Now, this is kind of back to the future for Eugene and I, because 4 years ago, Eugene was the chair and passed the right to clean water. It was preempted by the exact same senator the day after it passed in the CRC. It was inserted into an omnibus bill, just like this, as a 2 or 3 line paragraph. And I'm currently in appeals court, individually suing to try to override that preemption. So I would say to the members of the public who are watching and the members of the public who are disheartened by this, and I know there are many, don't give up. The English language is a beautiful thing, and we hope to come to the same point by a different means in our subcommittee.
Thank you, Vice Chair Shara.
You're kind.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Testing. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll be short. This Charter Study Commission is supposed to look at things that the County Commission, for some reason or other, didn't apply their wisdom to, and they've asked us to come up with anything. I had a hearing out in the east side of Orange County, and one of the public hearings we had, and we had 3 or 4 people show up on the urban line issue. And we've had some, they're very boisterous, by the way, and appreciate their comments in terms of coming here and speaking on the urban line. And they have a vested interest in keeping East Orange County rural so they can utilize, the open space and all the activities that would take place out there for them and not have an urban setting. My question always is, what are you going to do? I'll be gone, but what are you going to be doing in 20 to 30 years, or 40 years from now? And I've been here over 40 years, so I've seen the county like double, and traffic has always been bad. Even when I first came here, certain roads were under capacity. And I think that's what we have a county commission for, to look at these items. They've got a tremendous planning staff. They've got, futuristic-looking commissioners that look at the public and take into consideration the public's opinion on issues. But there's a bigger picture out there that maybe we're not looking at, and that is 40, 50 years from now, what's going to happen? Where are you going to put 1 million people? And you've driven a line, I don't even think you really need an urban line, to be honest with you, but I think we ought to leave it up to the county commissioners in the cities of Orlando to talk with each other about how they're expanding their territories and what they should be doing in terms of growth. I mean, we're not capable. I'm a former county commissioner, and I'm not qualified to talk on that issue, to be honest with you. And I didn't see any presentations here by the Orange County Planning Department or the city of Orlando, who's the second largest population base in this community, and they should be, involved in this whole process. And there's nobody on this board that's from the city, and I understand. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I just feel that the county commissioners, the Charter Study Commission should pick out issues that are really vital in our community, not trying to get into the workings of the county commission, which we elected them for. They're elected officials, and you put some of these issues on the ballot, and everybody's going to vote no. They just need 1 out of 4 issues that go on the ballot, and they're going to vote no. I think they ought to leave it up to the county commission and the city of Orlando council. They have very adept staff to come up with a solution to a problem. But you're going to have growth. And we're just looking at right now just what's happening today. And that's not what I think we should be doing. I think we ought to be looking at what's happening 30, 40, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. And, you have this, Seminole County is a rural community. Orange County is not a rural community. It's a growth community. And, if Disney left and Universal left, maybe we'd be going back to a Universal, going back to a rural community. But we're not a rural community anymore. And I think you guys are looking in hindsight. And in the Constitution, it says that, you can't take a person's piece of property without compensating them. And that's what you're doing by putting an urban line up there. And you're raising the price of existing housing in the urban line because you're restricting the capacity of that area. and, you know, you're not allowing for growth. And I'll tell you now, I've seen it for over years that, you know, we have a affordable housing issue. Homes jump from 300 to 400,000 for a beginner home. That's crazy. But they can't go out where they used to be able to go out in the rural area and put a subdivision up. And the impact fees are supposed to cover the cost of the subdivisions. And if the impact fees aren't covering it, then they should raise them. That's a county function, but not just going in there and saying you can't build out here. I think it's unconstitutional, to be honest with you. But again, that's an individual speaking. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I see two names, Mr. Bagger or Mr. Bagger.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, we'll make sure we can, mic check, we're good? All right, fantastic, thank you so much. You know, I do feel compelled, I guess, as a member of that committee to sort of address the last points there. And, you know, I'll certainly I have my thoughts on the preemption and, you know, that we can address further in the committee. But I'll just advise that, you know, this is, while to me become increasingly an important endeavor of this committee and should be of the CRC, because I think it's become clear as we've spoken to not just the residents, you know, I'm talking, I've run for office twice, very few things have I heard Democrats and Republicans agree on, and this is one of those things where there was broad agreement on this issue. And I think so on one hand, this would be an incredibly important thing to do. I will also say this is not some crazy revolutionary thing, right? Nor are we saying that there can never be development. In fact, I think most of us are probably pretty pro-growth. It's just how we do that growth, which is important. And the proposal has always been to allow any development there. It's just requiring that if we do that, that there's a higher vote threshold. I think that that's an important distinction to keep in mind here, right? This is not saying never can we expand. This is making sure that if we do it, we've really thought it through. And if there's one thing that the testimony, you know, we've spoken a lot to folks in planning, zoning, all throughout. What's become clear is Orange County has become a history of one-off developments, right? We have a plan, and then we make one little exception for this area, and then one little exception for this area, and one little exception. And it's starting to lose its plan, right? And I think that that's really what this is about. If we're gonna expand east, west, wherever we do it, we've really thought it through, and we require that the commission really think it through, and that if the impact fees are not paying for this development, that we think that through. That's it. I don't think that this is a, you know, when Sarasota County's thinking about this too, right? This is not a novel issue or a unique issue just to Orange County or, you know, an anti-growth issue, or, you know, there's plenty of development still happening over there. In fact, their boundary is a stricter one. I think it requires a unanimous passage. We're not even asking for a unanimous passage. This is just make sure the commission really has the facts and thinks this through. So I just thought it was important to address, you know, the work that we have been doing in this. Why I still think I'm happy to see that we will be reconsidering this issue, because it is that important. And if there is a way to still proceed, even if it's not, you know, everything we envisioned it to be, even if it's in some level, making sure that the charter of this county reflects that important need to have all the information, to make sure we plan in a smart way, that we continue and move this work forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Baglia. Mr. Staccato.
Okay.
I made a mistake. I should have set the timer, so now we're just...
Sorry.
I can't set it now because we're too far into the process. No, it's actually my error, not yours.
This charter amendment is about the uncontrolled growth that's happened. There's many people in this community have watched the growth happening, and you know about that. You know, we have $22 billion backlog in roads right now. Quality of life is going down. The homes are not being built to be affordable. They're market based. You're not seeing $125,000 homes. You're never going to see that in any of the new extraction with the city of Orlando trying to annex 11,000. You're not going to see $100,000 homes. They're going to be $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes. They're not affordable. it's a capitalist society. They're going to market it as high as they can get. The thing I find disturbing about this whole behavior from the legislature is they're trying to me, go back to the previous Constitution. They're trying to grab all the power from the Reconstruction Constitution. The beauty of the modern Constitution that we work under today was they incorporated the concept of the charter and having people sit on a charter. Now, the question about citizens, we're all citizens. But we took an oath. We are under sunshine. We have to fill out the forms that the elected officials have to do. So this is not a normal board. Many of us sit on other boards. We don't do the same thing. In that section in the Constitution, it talks about setting and a board up to decide these things. So I think it's an authority issue to the Constitution. It's a constitutional question, because if they can attack this thing, they can go down the line. Anything that the developers or whoever might be the one that's writing the code up in the legislature will go after. So it's really an attack of the authority of the local people. And I personally think we should fight it, if anything, because it's attacking the authority of the local governments again. And this is foundational constitutional thing, I believe.
Thank you. Member Nguyen.
I just want to ask wait, get my remote here. I would like to ask a question. If the legislature, although they have sent it to the governor and it's not supported for the rural settlement and the boundaries, who sues whom? You said sue them, but who's going to be paying the bill for the suit? Ms. Staccato said...
I'm going to answer that question. It
Okay.
would be either citizen-led action or county commission-led action.
The taxpayers.
That's right. A taxpayer or the taxpayer.
The taxpayers, okay.
One or the other. So I think that will be the answer to that. I see no one else in the queue. Just a few comments from here. I still recommend that we keep the number one thing, and I don't know how to say that anymore. We have no control over the legislature except for one thing. If we don't like them, we can vote them in or vote them out. That's the way our system works. And so same with the county commission. So I think that we really have no control. And we've seen a couple times in the past where the board has passed items and the legislature has immediately attacked it. So we can't stop that. We have no control over that. If the committee decides that they want to bring it out in a certain fashion and this board approves it, we're going to put it on the ballot. But I still say that if we get into a position where the process of charter review itself is questioned, then I think that's a dangerous place to be. Having said that, if there are no further discussions, and I see none, we're going to move on through our agenda. Thank you all for a lively debate and lengthy debate, but it was well worth it. The next item on the agenda is approval of our minutes of January the 30th and January the 19th. I need a separate motion for each. Can I have a motion to accept the January 30th minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Who was the first? Member Grimer, and seconded by Member Nguyen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by nay. Seeing none, the minutes is approved. A motion to approve the minutes of February 19th, 2024.
So move.
Moved by Member Weinsberg, seconded by Member Grimer. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Seeing no discussion, any objections? Seeing none, the minutes is so approved.
Can I have a comment of the minutes because...
Too late, we've already passed them.
I know you passed them.
Okay, Member Nguyen is saying even though we've passed them, she has a comment.
Yeah, because I mentioned that I did not.
Is it a question that might be a valid point?
It's noted.
It's in the minutes that you did not vote.
Okay.
Yes.
Your footnote number 1.
Thank you.
So that was a legitimate comment to make sure.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move into our reports of committees. These items do not require a vote. We're simply going to have a brief explanation of what has transpired since our last meeting. The first one will be our Governmental Structure Committee. Mr. De La Patela, and he's going to have a longer presentation at the end, so I'm asking if you don't mind postponing until his time.
Okay.
Is that okay? It's up to you. Okay, thank you. He'll pass because he's the top item on the agenda today. The Sustainable Growth Committee. Chair?
Thank you, Chair. So much has been said already tonight. I feel like what is there for me to say? But just a report of our last meeting. Our last meeting was held on March 1st, 2024, which was actually before the Senate had passed their version of the bill, but the House had not yet adopted it, had not passed it. So we're kind of in that, in that gray area that we've got a little more clarification on. Not total clarification at this point, but we'll see what happens. I just want to thank everyone for their comments here this evening on the rural boundaries, especially the members of my fellow members of the committee. Don't really have too much to add to what they said, but I will point out that, like Vice Chair Shara talked about, if you don't like what people do, you can vote them out. And I would say that in terms of the the Senate amendment was voted for by members of the Orange County delegation, so our own, elected officials, voted in favor of the amendment, and then also the final version of the bill as well. And also, on the House side, there were members of the Orange County delegation that voted for it and against also. So, just to point that out. As in terms of our meeting on March 1st, 2024, we heard from the Orange County planning staff. We heard a great presentation on joint planning agreements, preservation districts, and what is remaining of land out on the west side in terms of land is zoned rural or agriculture. Some of the things that we discussed in great detail at the last full CRC meeting. We really heard a really informative presentation from planning staff on that to get a really good idea of exactly what we're dealing with, especially out on the west side. So I want to thank staff for their great work on that, and they really put a lot of work into that presentation, including creating maps specifically for us to use to kind of take a look at that west side and really get a great idea of what's going on over there. We also had some members from municipalities that attended and delivered public comments, and I found those really helpful as well to kind of get their years of experience and perspective, gave me a great appreciation and understanding of some of the issues that are going on the west side. So we are we haven't met since those things occurred in the legislature, so I imagine next time we meet, which is not currently scheduled, hopefully we'll be scheduled soon, maybe we'll have even greater clarification on whether that bill has been signed by the governor, and then we'll go from there. The one thing I will just say is that I've listened to the people of Orange County since we began this full CRC, and I can tell the people in the audience and the people watching at home that I'm not giving up. And the English language is a beautiful thing, and I hope we can find a way to craft something that gets the most that we can for the people of Orange County. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Transportation Committee? Chair?
Thank you, Chair Hartage. We had a couple meetings. It's like we're picking out wallpaper for our living room at this point, going back and forth in selections with our attorney. So I do apologize to our attorney, but he told us he'd have some more language for us the next meeting. At that point, I think we'll probably bring it in and finish it up there, come back here if we do.
Thank you. I just want to add that an accomplishment on that committee would be a history for the state of Florida. So I'm just excited to see what comes out of it. It's really a great opportunity to address some of the major transportation issues in our county. And so we're going to give it our best shot. Initiative Petition Committee, member, Chair.
Oh, thank you, Chair. We had our last meeting March 15th. It was quite interesting and lively, and we were there to discuss our final amendment for the proposed charter. We had a great, lively meeting, and we decided that we had voted to approve our initiative, and we're going to bring you a full report, hopefully at our next full CRC meeting. Although we voted on everything, but our attorney is going to finalize the verbiage.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate all the chairs, and Member De Patela will get extra time when his presentation is up because he allowed us to move forward, and we appreciate it. If you guys would like to slow down and stay to 10 o'clock, we can surely do that.
No.
Okay, thank you. We're going to now go to our main event, an action item for and committee final report is shown on your agenda as one item. It says Governmental Structure Committee, CRC frequency, separation of powers, and expansion of the commission district, and discussion and consideration. We're going to take the first two items separately, and I'm going to ask staff to help me make sure I get them correct. The CRC frequency is one, and separation of powers will be number two.
Yes, sir.
Okay, reason we're taking those separately, I'm treating them as three agenda items instead of one, because the recommendation of the committee is different. On those two, they are recommending that they not be moved forward. We're going to wait for the report of the chair, and he will explain to us their recommendations, and we'll look for a motion for an action from the chair.
Okay, thank you.
Member De La Patel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as we have three items, our committee has looked at 7 topics, and when later I'm going to go up and I'm going to provide a slide presentation, and I'll talk a little bit about the history of our meetings and the individual topics we're looking at. One of the topics is the frequency of the Charter Commission meetings. This was a fairly simple topic for us. It was actually the easiest topic. We had some discussion on it, but we made we're making a recommendation, and it was a unanimous vote on November 8th that we not make any changes there. And given clearly there's ongoing issues in Orange County, and every 4 years new members are appointed to the Charter Commission. They take up some of these issues. We feel it's important that the commission should continue meeting every 4 years. So our committee voted unanimously, and my recommendation, and therefore my motion, is that we accept our committee's recommendation and keep the charter and not make any changes to the frequency of the Charter Review Commission.
If that, we have a motion by the chair, seconded by Member Shower. Any discussion? Seeing none, no discussion, we'll call for a vote on the motion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for a great report.
Okay, thank you.
The second report will be on the separation of powers.
Yes.
Call on Chairman De La Patella.
Separation of powers was an issue that we had quite a bit of discussion on. We began with this issue back in June, and we had testimony from 3 of our current mayor and 2 of our past mayors on this. We also had a lot of citizen input on this matter, and it's really whether the county mayor should continue to be on both the executive side, as he is now, and on the legislative side. Our review of our charter, not only our charter, we also reviewed charters of the 7 large metropolitan counties in Florida, which are Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Orange, Duval, Hillsborough, and Pinellas. Three of those counties have strong mayor form of governments. Miami-Dade and Duval, the mayor does not vote. The mayor is only a member of the executive body. There's a legislative body that essentially sets the agenda, runs the meetings, and the mayor has veto power. The office of the mayor in Orange County is unique. It's the only of the large counties where we have a countywide elected mayor, and then that mayor serves in both capacities, both on the executive and legislative side. Part of the reason that this was brought up, because as we were looking at the expansion, we initially considered adding 1 district instead of 2, 7, and having 7 commissioners and having the mayor. And in order to break the vote, there's two ways you can break the vote. You either give the mayor 2 votes, as they do in the Orange County School Board, where there's 8 members. The chair is elected countywide, and there's 7 school board districts. But the chair's vote counts in the event of a tie. The mayor's vote counts for 2 votes. I mean, the chair votes counts at 2. But so we looked at that model carefully here to do that in Orange County, but we decided it was probably not in our best interest. And our committee, I think it was March 1st, we recommended that we just leave the existing structure intact and keep the mayor both serving on the executive side and the legislative side. One of the compelling reasons that we found is reviewing charters from the past. The 1988 charter was, you had the 1986 charter that did the study, and then the first official charter commission was in 1988. And that commission debated that issue of whether the mayor should serve on both sides. And the compelling reason back then was that they wanted to make sure the mayor was on record on every single vote that took place here. And we looked at that, and that was sort of, at least for me, that was one of the, the clear defining moments of that. So we voted to keep the mayor, the existing structure intact. So with that, I would move that we accept our committee's recommendation, and the mayor will continue serving on both the executive and legislative side.
A second.
We have a motion, and we have a second by Commissioner Wynn.
Mr. Chair.
We're going to open it up for discussion. We have a motion and a second. We're now open for discussion on the main motion.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion that relates to Chairman De La Portilla's motion that would be contrary to his motion. Can we discuss that before we vote on?
No, the options that I'm going to try to remember my Robert's rules, it would be a substitute motion or an amendment to his motion, both of which would have to be accepted by the primary motion maker, or we would have to dispense with the main motion and then accept a new motion.
So I could propose a substitute motion?
Did I properly?
Yes, I would offer to you that in debate, someone could argue, please vote against this motion
Correct.
because I plan to make this motion next.
That's right. So you can
offer
raise-
that, but yeah, in the absence of having a substitute motion accepted, for example, or amending the motion, I believe it would probably be contrary entirely to the motion. So,
in other words, you can make your comments, and then we will dispense with the main motion. If the main motion passed, then there's no reason for the substitute motion. But
Chairman.
you can make your comments and encourage whichever direction you choose.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, if I might. If I recall Robert's rules, and I could be wrong and be corrected by you or the counselor, but the substitute motion has primacy, and it doesn't have to be accepted by the sponsor of the original motion.
It has to be accepted first, I think. I'm pretty sure he can make the motion, but it has to be accepted. Wait a minute. Let's get for clarity. That's a really complex issue, but I don't want to take a break for us to figure it out.
yeah.
But if the mover of the substitute motion would agree to counselors, he can withdraw his motion and announce that he's making another motion following this motion. And that way, that solves the problem on Robert's Rules of Order. So,
But the issue is, if the primary motion passed, then that negates any motion. He can't make a motion to remand the primary motion.
And Chair, what I would recommend, again, I believe, speculating, that the alternative motion that Member O'Neill would propose is one in direct,
Yes.
diametric opposition. I would suggest debate could be directed to, I intend to advance
Exactly.
this other motion, so please vote against the motion on the floor so I can make this motion.
It would be a campaign, actually.
that's fine.
So we open for discussion. Member O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And then we have Member Staccato, and we'll go down the list.
And there is absolutely no doubt that Chairman De La Portilla went to great lengths to study this question. We had 14 meetings, I believe. The Charter Review Commission that created this strong mayor form of government, which it was a strong chairman at that time, had 3 meetings. So it just shows you how much we got into the technicalities here. One of the parts of the charter that I would like the commission to keep in mind is Section 108, Division of Powers. This exists in our charter today. It says this charter hereby establishes the separation between the legislative and executive functions of this government. The establishment and adoption of policy shall be the responsibility of the legislative branch, and the execution of that policy shall be the responsibility of the executive branch. So you have two opposing or two separated branches of government here. The legislative branch being the county commission, and then the executive branch being the administrative branch. To me and to others who have looked at this matter, we see the mayor serving as head of the legislative branch and chief executive of the executive branch as being incompatible with Section 108 of the Charter. And indeed, there were questions when this was created back in 1988. The Charter Review, the notes from the Charter Review Commission says, some members felt that the chairman, which is now the mayor, would be most effective if separate from the board and if less powerful. Powerful had pejorative connotations in part because of the concerns for the possibility of concentrating power on special interests and the subsequent decrease in power of the commission. Now, this was back in 1988, and we've had the opportunity to experience this form of government since that time. The committee, even though it will show you that the committee voted 6-2 in favor of not changing anything, minutes prior to that, the same committee voted 4-4. So it's not as though there was an overwhelming consensus that this should not be changed. So during the course of the 14 meetings, Councilor Vos prepared Exhibit A, which is in your packet, and proposed removing the mayor from the legislative branch and putting him solely in the executive branch, and that the Board of County Commissioners be composed solely of commissioners elected by the populations, by the citizens. So I do not believe that this is a fully agreed upon best option to leave this alone, and I would move that this issue be remanded back to the Governmental Structure Committee to hear public comment and to have a second vote on this issue. Well, it would now be a third vote on this issue.
Thank you. Member Staccato.
I was one of the votes, Chuck and I were the votes to try to create a separation of power. One of the things I asked about and didn't get, we had many people, we had the former mayor speak to us, but we never had a neutral party come and speak to us. And I thought that was very important. I think a political scientist like Jay Drury from UCF should have spoken at us and talked about how to construct governments. Because this is a very interesting exercise on how power is separated and how it is dealt with. The history of this is in '86, we came together to create the charter. And that was based on the new Constitution that was passed in '68. The previous Constitution concentrated power in the legislature, which only gave us 5 commissioners voted throughout the county, which was racially based. So certainly minorities couldn't get representation. And to correct that, we had the '86 charter, which then created our own structure. But then in '88, we quickly came back to correct some of the things that we found out. But remember, in the history of this, we came out of 5 commissioners countywide. We didn't have a model to move forward. We had a model, the only model we had was from the city of Orlando. Bill Frederick came over and talked to the folks about their form of government, which is strong mayor. Never did they consider a separation, although in Section 108 it talks about it. They immediately in 1988 went to this combined effort. And I think it should have been addressed. We should have talked about it, because I think we're a big county, we are growing, and there's plenty to do. And part of the thought of the mayor was they would be the promoter and be able to look at the future. But right now, we have a mayor sitting on a board that is voting on every single thing that's happening every 2 weeks. That is a full-time job plus some. So I would argue that it's difficult for anyone sitting in that position, leading the entire county, to actually adequately project where the county should be, because they're so tied up in what's happening today. So we never get an adequate future projection because we're working with today's issues. And that was why I thought we should separate the powers, so we give that individual, yes, they would have a veto. They could deal with the power if there's a vote that they disagreed with. But it gave them the time to actually look at the county's problems, the housing problems, the employment. The tourist industry is 70%. It is not adequate pay. It is why we're having the crisis. We have to move forward to someplace else. And we don't have a mayor that has the time, in my opinion, to properly put towards it. No one is a superhuman.
Mr. Scardo?
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Wynn?
Yes, thank you. Oh,
Just for the public, I'm purposely not using the timer. This is an issue that the board is very strong on, so we'll be a little bit more liberal on the time. But if it gets lengthy, they are respectful of me with judging the time, so I'm not worried about that with the board.
thank you, Chair. I think the mayor has staff to assist him. He doesn't do everything himself all the time. Now, if things aren't broken, and the other two mayors that was here, they had the same rules and regulations, okay? And do you know how much Orange County has improved? Number one. And if it's not broken, why are you trying to fix it? We can change things, yes. Mr. DiPatillo and his board of commissioners, we talked about this. It went up, down, and all around. However, we came to a consensus. Yes, you and your person down there, the other commissioner, voted no, and we all put our heads and minds together with Chairman DiPatillo and said yes, because it's not broken, so we are not trying to fix it. Thanks.
Thank you. Member De La Patella?
Let me answer some of my colleagues' comments here. The separation of powers, when you have a 6-member board and you're proposing to take the mayor out, right, and not have the mayor participate in any of the votes, you now have a 6-member commission. What do you do about breaking the ties? That's number one, okay? Number two, the examples that I stated earlier about the 2 counties in Florida that do have a separation of powers have a legislative body that is much bigger than Orange. For example, Duval County has 19 members on the commission. It's the second biggest legislative body after the Florida legislature in the state. Number 2 is Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County has a population of 2.8 million people. They're twice our size, so they have twice as many districts. Okay, they've had the mayor does not vote. The mayor is an executive, countywide elected mayor, has veto power of the commission, just doesn't vote. That model, while it may work in Miami-Dade, it would not work in Orange because we have 6 districts here. So that, and then also the compelling reason, as I stated earlier, our forefathers, and by the way, Lee Shira is one of our forefathers here because he was on the original charter study, and he was also on the 1988 Charter Commission.
Grandfather.
Okay, we're lucky. I mean, it's like being in the presence of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, right?
Absolutely.
You know he knew Thomas Jefferson.
Right. But they looked at this issue very closely back in 1988, and they determined that they wanted the mayor to have a voice on every vote that came in front of the commission. And I personally think, that's what makes Orange County unique, and that's what makes the office of Orange County mayor probably the most powerful elected mayor in the state of Florida, because in Miami-Dade, the mayor doesn't vote. Here they do. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to thank Chair De La Portilla and the members of the Government Structure Committee for just an exceptionally well-run committee. I listened to every meeting just because I found it just supremely interesting. Hearing from the guest speakers as well, but also the conversation among the committee members. Did absolutely fantastic job. So I want to commend you guys for that. One thing I'm most confident in is that this was a thorough investigation of this issue. Like, no matter what happens, like, you can't say any short shrift was given to the thought of it. I think this is the most consequential issue that was being considered by the CRC this session. We're talking about what I consider a fundamental building block of Orange County government is this structure that we have here. And I went before the committee was created, I was one of the members, I think, that brought up the issue of the separation of powers. And Member Nguyen just said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But we had commissioners come before us. I'm not saying every commissioner, current county commissioner, but multiple current county commissioners come and tell us that there's something about this system that is not working. That they had problems, getting information or in interactions with staff. So I think there is something that is not working in the current system. I think it's something that, is good to consider and good to think about. So, yeah, those are my comments.
Member Nguyen, you've already spoken. Member Riley.
If you want me to talk again, I do have something else to say.
I can imagine.
First of all, good evening, everyone. First of all, kudos to our chairperson, who I think has done an amazing job with something that's almost like herding cats on our committee. And to our committee members, who I believe have been extremely vocal and also thoughtful in the conversations and the discussions that we've had with regard to this issue and all the other issues we've been looking at. First and foremost, I want to say that I respect everyone's right to their opinion and to provide what their comments are, because we're entitled to that, if nothing else. The respect of each other's opinion. We can agree to disagree, and we don't have to attack one another in the process of doing that. I believe that we had a lot of conversation. We heard from several people. My mind was changed in the process of this thought because I was conflicted in the beginning with the issue of the mayor operating in both sides, based on a review, which I thought was an exceptional review of the original work that was done that Commissioner Shira was part of, and then the 1988 look. There was a historical perspective and a reason as to why decisions were made that were made. I don't necessarily come to the table with, if something isn't broke, don't fix it. I don't have a problem with looking at things, because I think that's the reason we're here, is to look at it. We concluded that we did not feel that it was necessarily broken to the point that we needed to vote to change it. That does not mean that we are, that we've made maybe the best decision that can be made, but in the absence of a different recommendation that we thought was appropriate, at least for me and my vote, I felt like I made a well-informed vote. And the initial vote that was referenced, that vote was made, and then additional information and clarification was provided, and we made a second vote because a 4-4 meant that there was a no vote. We had to vote over. That's the process of voting. So I just want to make sure that everyone understand that I don't feel like it's a matter of an issue not being broken. I think it's a matter of the committee doing what it was charged to do and not taking that responsibility lightly. And I think the chair and the entire board did an exceptional job in looking at this issue.
Thank you, Member Weinsberg. And I'm going to share with you, I see several board members trying to get 2 and 3 bites at the apple. Unless you have something compelling to add to your previous statement, I'm going to ask that we not do that. It'll get us into a deliberation that will just get us into a cycle that we can't stop. Having said that, if you still insist that there's some additional points, I would ask that you make them briefly. Member Weinsberg?
I do. I served on this committee at the point that we had this final discussion. I think it was 13 meetings in. All total, I've been to 28 meetings for the charter review of different committees This was a wonderful committee to serve on. My history has been government communications for cities and counties for the last 20 years as a writer and an advertising person. I met and worked with a lot of different mayor types of governments. Strong mayor, mayor with no vote, mayor with a vote on one side, mayor with a veto. As I said, cities and counties. We have a sunshine issue between all folks that serve on the same legislative side and then the person that serves on the executive side. We looked at all of these issues. And my point in saying that I served with all these different folks, when your executive is only on the executive side, he no longer is in the sunshine. So he becomes a lobbyist when he doesn't vote on the legislative side. So he lobbies with all the developers. He lobbies his commissioners. Right now, they're all in the sunshine. They have to all work independently with their own staffs. And that, to me, was the strongest motive to stay with this government, which is exceptional. And frankly, when you work with other governments, they say, oh, man, that Orange County government, that's really great, the way they have that work. But you don't realize that unless you work in these environments. But I'm just going to tell you, we voted on it, we discussed it, we harangued it, we brought it back 3 times, and it came out to this vote. And I would ask you to at least respect your committee and the time that we spent on it.
Thank you, Member Grimmer.
Mr. Chairman,
No, please. You just sit your.
a question for you.
Can we?
What motions before us?
Let me clear the queue, and then I have staff repeat the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, Member Grimmer.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the leeway on that also. One additional point I just want to make. Commissioner Scott came here tonight and talked about efficiency of the county government. And I think that's something that we heard also, is that because of the sunshine laws that require the mayor being part of that as well, they can have conversations with the mayor that are not part of the dais. So I think on the opposite side of Member Weinsberg's point, that makes the government less efficient in doing, and I think we've heard that from Coward County commissioners. So
Okay, I wish you had been to the meeting where we addressed the sunshine issue and how it works.
I listened to every meeting.
Member Weinsberg, I'm sorry.
Chair, I appreciate that extra
Member
minute.
Prophet.
That's me. That's me.
Member Staccato.
Yeah, I just
second
want
by-
to say that the government committee did a great job. It was very interesting, but I believe there is. It doesn't. To Commissioner, I'm sorry, your name
Member
Weinsberg. Lobbying doesn't stop. I mean, the lobbyists will lobby each individual along with the mayor. So that's not an issue to me.
Ms. Weinsberg.
Point entirely.
But
Please.
But what is good is
me,
we brought this conversation up to talk about our form of government. And this is fundamental of what the CRC is about. And I thought that was what was most interesting to me, that we at least brought this up, beat it to death, and now we are talking about it again. But I think this is the first round. We'll see this again coming up in the next 4 years.
That is correct. Thank you. Thank you, Member. Member Weinsberg, short third comment.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Member Nguyen. Member Callen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And then Member Shower, and then I have some closing remarks.
Having a county-wide mayor is, I think, a very good form of government, because you have the citizens vote for a leader on the commission, sets a direction, positive tone, and I think it's important because it prevents parochialism between the districts. There's some issues that expand beyond district boundaries, and so I think keeping that strong mayor, or keeping that form of government is appropriate. I've heard the complaints as well, but I don't think that was the reason to change the form of the government. I think more study needs to be looked at to maybe next cycle. We finally scratched the surface on this a little bit, but I think some more discussion should happen. And I felt like doing anything else would be too radical at this point and would be disruptive. My main concern about taking the mayor out of the legislative body would be that would lead to a government that's too legalistic. not consensus builders and all that. So that was another concern I had. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Member Nguyen, and then Member Shower, and then we'll look to close discussion.
Down.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with what Mr. Callen says. But we have to also look at the progress that Mayor Demmons have made or has made in Orange County. Apparently, he is doing something right because he was reelected. And he also does not have veto power. And a lot of other mayors do. Mayor Demmons has been an outstanding mayor as far as if you walk around and you talk to citizens and even some of the commissioners and the prior mayors, they talk about what an incredible job he is doing. So for us to say that he has too much work or his power should take away, then we're disrupting the footprint of Orange County. I think that some personalities clash and everybody don't get along with everybody. Sometimes you bite your tongue, you don't get along with that. However, if someone's doing a great job and you can see it and you have a few complaints, everybody's going to have a complaint. They complain about me all the time, so, But I think that after we have done so much talk and research, and our chair has done a fabulous job, and he brought us some things that we didn't know. Therefore, we had a mind change. And that's what we did when we decided to vote to keep the mayor in his position.
Thank you. Member Shower, and then we'll close the debate.
Yeah, I think the committee did an excellent job, especially on their research on the first. This is like deja vu, We've had this discussion before for 20 years now. And the only thing I can think of is we've had complaints from the commissioners that their voice is not heard. And that's an individual type of thing. And the only thing I might recommend would be that the vice mayor be elected from the 6 members of the county commission. So that there's a relationship between the vice mayor, I like the chairman, but they changed it, vice mayor, and the legislative base, and they run their interests through the vice mayor, and he works with the chairman. And I don't want to put that in a motion or anything, but that is a way that you might be able to satisfy some of the complaints that the county commissioners had, that they don't have the authority or what have you to execute what they'd like to see done.
Mr. Shower, I would recommend that we not do that. That would automatically send this back to committee. And plus, it doesn't really solve the issue. You still have a bunch of other issues.
Gives them a voice, though. That's all.
Now, in closing, first of all, there's a misnomer that commissioners can't meet with the mayor. You just have to follow the rules. The rules say you have to follow sunshine rules. I mean, I've been a commissioner. Mr. Shower's been a commissioner. All of you have sat on boards where you've had to follow the sunshine laws. You can meet with the mayor. I've served on the 2 mayors, and I've met with both of them. You can also meet with other commissioners. You just have to follow the rules. Lobbyists, that's their job to lobby. You're not going to stop that. But the county has a program, and they've had it for years, where lobbyists have to register, they have to sign in and out. That's not going to stop. I really want to first thank the committee for their diligent work. 14 meetings to discuss one issue. And so that tells me that they didn't just come up with this decision on a whim. So I'm going to support the motion. I think it's well thought out. Additionally, I mentioned very early that changing this structure meant that we had to change no less than 8 and possibly 9 sections of the charter. It would require nearly a complete rewrite of the charter. Now, I'm not opposed to that if that becomes necessary. If it's necessary to do that, then that's our job. But we need to be conscious of the fact that we are making a total rewrite of the charter. The work has been well thought out. It's been well deliberated. I'm going to support the motion. We have a motion on the floor. We're going to end discussion. I'm going to call for questions. Is there a motion on the second on the question?
Chair.
Which motion are you?
There's only one motion on the floor.
Chair. I believe Member Batchelor had asked for staff to just restate the motion for the record.
Yes, we'll
before
do that.
there's any action on it.
I'm going to call for question on the main motion. We'll ask for, we have a second on that from who? Second. Mr. Ayers, Member Ayers. And now for a restate of the motion from the staff clerk, Ms. Jessica.
And the motion on the floor is to accept the committee's recommendation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Motion on the floor is to accept the committee's recommendation and to keep the mayor on both the executive and legislative side.
Thank you. Mr. Batchelor?
That's clear enough for me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. And remember, we're going to get a second bite at this. We are the first charter review commission with a set of bylaws that says it's going to come back twice. So we get to do this all over again in a few weeks. Maybe we'll think about that next year. But all in favor of the motion, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All opposed?
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
All opposed,
Mr. Chairman.
signify by nay.
Chair.
There was a motion made to call the question. There was a motion.
Yeah, I'm sorry, right, to call for question. We didn't vote on the call for
Second by
question.
Member Arias. We have to vote on that.
Thank you. That would have.
Okay, that's the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to call for question. The motion has been seconded by Member Arias. All in favor of calling the question, signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion to call for question passed. We now have a vote on the main motion. The main motion is to accept staff's report as clarified, the chair's report and committee report as explained by staff. All in favor of the main motion, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by nay.
Nay.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Chair, we have Member O'Neill, Member Staccardo voting against it.
That's correct.
Correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm not clapping on the motion, I'm clapping on the great work that they've done.
We've got one more.
And now for the third item on from that committee, which is the expansion of the commission districts. And for that, we have a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes. So this is the another topic was the expansion of the commission, and given the amount of work that we did, actually have a PowerPoint presentation.
Can you speak a little so everyone can hear? Pull your mic.
Yes, this is the expansion of the Board of County Commissioners. We have a recommended action, and I also prepared a PowerPoint presentation to show you. So I'm going to go up there and present it.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the. Yeah, that PowerPoint is looking real cool. That movie at least really good. Right.
Okay. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, this is my presentation on the expansion of the County Commission. So first of all, we have 8 members on our committee. I want to recognize all of them individually: Mark Arias, Tom Callan, Chuck O'Neill, Cornita Riley, Eugene Staccardo, Beverly Weinsberg, and Dottie Nguyen. We had a lot of lively discussion. And I also want to mention a few things. Staff has been great to work with. Jennifer and Jessica, and then when Jessica was out of maternity leave in September, Craig stepped in. So we want to thank him, and also Attorney Vos worked diligently on this and did a lot of research for us. So these are the 7 topics that we've reviewed in order of assignment by the full CRC: expansion of the County Commission. That was task number 1, and frequency of the Charter Review Commission, which we voted on tonight; separation of powers, which we voted on tonight; county attorney, term limits, nonpartisan elections, and county administrator. These issues are still under review. As we've stated here before, we had 14 meetings to date. Our first meeting was May 31st of last year, and we had a meeting on Friday, meeting number 14th, and we had a number of invited guests that included Mayor Demings, former Mayor Chapin, former Mayor Teresa Jacobs, County Administrator Byron Brooks, County Attorney Jeff Newton, former County Attorney Tom Wilkes, John Chapman, who represents the Office of the Supervisor of Elections, Ann Kulikowski, who's the Director of Administrative Services. She gave us some budgeting information, and then Alberto Vargas, who's the Manager of the Planning Division. And also, we also had public comment by Commissioner Emily Bonilla, Commissioner Nicole Wilson, Chief of Staff Roseanne Harrington, and we also had Deputy County Administrator Danny Banks spoke to us on Friday. So, okay, little bit of history. The last time that Orange County expanded was in 1988. Lee Shira was on that Charter Review Commission, and the recommendation was to expand the county from 5 single-member districts. From 5 countywide elected districts to 6 single-member districts. And voters approved creating the current form of government that we have today with the countywide elected mayor and then 6 county commissioners, each representing single-member districts. In 1988, the population of Orange County was 621,000 people. Today, our population exceeds 1.5 million. So we've grown at least 2.5 times in 36 years, I believe. The estimate growth, Orange County continues to grow, and it's estimated by 2030 our population will be 1.8 million people. Today, each county commission represents a district with an average of 250,000 people compared to 104,000 people in 1988. That's at 2.5 times growth. There's some fiscal impacts, and we went through, we got some information from the Supervisor of Elections office. We've also got some information from Ann Kulikowski, who provided some budgeting. Coincidentally, the county is currently doing a space study. They're looking at expanding some offices and making some improvements to this building, so the information was readily available. According to the Supervisor of Elections, the cost to create the 2 new districts, it's a one-time cost of $594,000. Then the redistricting cost, they took this number from the 2021 redistricting committee, which Member Callen and Member Arias both served on. That was approximately $100,000. The Orange County capital costs on the first floor and the 5th floor, because we've got to create more office space up there, it's $1.7 million. So that comes out to a $2.4 million of one-time costs. There are some recurring costs if the county commission expands. We have to add two, as we recommend, 2 districts. Cost per district and their staff salaries is approximately $600,000 per district, so 1.2. Now, mind you, these estimates, this is only an estimate that we've gotten from staff. Per our charter, Section 702, the Orange County Comptroller is required to provide a financial impact analysis based on any decisions that are made, anything before it goes to the voters. They review these amounts, but we're pretty accurate. We're fairly sure that these are very good, accurate numbers. Okay, as our population has grown 2.5 times, our budget has grown even greater than that. So on the left, total county budget, that's the total budget. That includes impact fees and sales taxes, utility fees. It includes the convention center, includes tourist development tax. You'll see in 1988, our budget was our total budget was $873 million. Today, that amount is $6.2 billion. Notice something simple. 4 years ago, we started the great pandemic. 4 years ago this week, actually. We had in 2020, we had a budget of $4.7 billion. In 4 years, even despite the pandemic, look how much our budget has grown, just in the last 4 years. And we're crawling out of a pandemic, and it impacted hospitality. It impacted Orange County as bad as any other county in the country because of our dependence on tourism. But look how much our budget has grown, because they're still building homes. They're still building. There's a lot of development going on. There's a major theme park that's under construction. There's a major expansion going on at the airport. We're very fortunate to live in such a growing, fast-growing county. On the right side is the general fund revenues. Now, general fund that's the property tax, essentially that's a property tax revenue that comes into the county that is used to pay the overhead of the county. It includes all the salaries. It includes I believe it includes the sheriff's budget as well, all the day-to-day operational costs of the county are covered in that general fund revenue. So, again, look how much it's grown. 1988, 116 million. 2023, 942 million. So it's grown at least 8 times. So our population has expanded 2.5 times, and in 36 years, our budget has grown 8 times. Okay. We've heard from Member Wynn today, but here's the action that we took. On February 7th, our committee voted unanimously to approve the expansion of the Board of County Commissioners by 2 members in 2026. When we voted on the actual ballot language, we all know that Dottie Wynn voted no, so that for the record, we voted 7-1 to approve the ballot language that you all have in your reports. Okay, here's a timeline. March 18th, we're today, so the initial request would be to accept our recommendation and request from the comptroller a fiscal impact analysis, if that is the will of the commission. That fiscal impact analysis will come back, will be prepared by the comptroller, and we'll bring it back. So there'll be a second vote. As the chair stated, there's 2 votes required in any action before anything goes to the ballot. But we also have to vote one more time. We have to approve the final report. So if this passes tonight, and if it passes again in April with the fiscal impact analysis, we have to approve the final report that includes the final ballot language. So if it passes, it goes to the elections. If the voters approve it in 2025, the Orange County will have to adopt a redistricting plan. And in the past, the practice has been to appoint and use a redistricting advisory committee. That's the committee that Mr. Callan and Mr. Arias served on in 2021. The committee will work with the supervisor of elections and county staff to draw 8 new districts based on the population. New district maps must be approved by the Board of County Commissioners in time for the 2026 elections. August 26th and November 26th will be the election after this one. We stagger elections here, so right now we have 3 commissioners that are elected. I think 1, 3, and 5 are elected on presidential years, and 2, 4, and 6 on gubernatorial years. So this is a presidential. So 1 commission will serve 4 years, and then the second commissioner will serve a 2-year term, and that commissioner will be subject to another election in 2028, and that'll give us 8 county commission districts. So. The recommended action by our committee is to accept the Government Structures Committee recommendation for expansion of the Board of County Commissioners by 2 members in 2026, subject to a financial impact analysis to be provided by the County Controller and presented to the CRC at a future meeting in April, and to schedule the proposal for a final vote. I can answer any questions.
Awesome.
I'm not going to make a motion from here. We'll let the discussion.
Yes, please. We'll look for a motion and a second, and then we'll open for discussion.
Made the motion.
Okay. So can I make the motion from here?
Yes, sir.
You need me over there? Okay. So I make the motion that we approve the the Government Structure Committee's recommendation for the expansion of the 2 county commission districts in 2026, subject to a financial impact analysis to be provided by the county comptroller and presented to the CRC at a future meeting in April, and to schedule the proposal for a final vote. That's my
I'll
motion.
second it.
And I offer how do we offer an amendment? My amendment would be, a friendly amendment would be to remove the word April.
You accept?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Can we change it to May?
I'm thinking that we may move it earlier. I've been moving the meetings pretty swiftly.
Okay. Do we have a meeting
I'm
scheduled?
waiting for staff to.
We don't have any other CRC meetings currently scheduled in March.
Aha.
So the soonest one would be in April. Very early in April. But in April.
I withdraw my friendly amendment.
So noted.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Ms. Riley did.
Seconded by Member Raleigh. We have a motion and a second. We're now open for discussion. We have two people in the queue, Member O'Neill and Member Tricardo.
Mr. Chairman, I don't.
And Member Batchelor.
I don't have a button.
I planned
I have a hot
that.
button, but I don't have a button.
I want you to know it took me a long time to get staff to eliminate your button.
Touche.
That is a joke. That is a joke.
Touche.
All right, so it'll be Member O'Neill, Member Staccato, then Member Batchelor.
We've heard throughout discussion and even tonight about the cost of adding two county commissioners. But I would encourage anyone with a calculator to go back at the, perhaps you could go back to the screen that showed the budgets back when we went to 6. That was 1988. So if you divide 873,000 total county budget by 6, and then you divide 6,216,000,000 by 8, you'll find that this is, proportionately speaking, this is a very small increase in that, and it's far, far less than the cost per commissioner of the total county budget as it was previously. So I understand, and I know if this goes to the ballot, there's going to be a political campaign to stop it based on the cost. We've heard that. It's coming. But people need representation. Right now you have Bithlo represented by the same commissioner that represents Winter Park. You have, as we've heard, Pine Hills badly in need of their own commissioner. There are areas of this town that need representation that do not currently have adequate representation. My vote will be in favor of this motion and in favor of representation for the population. Thank you.
Member Staccato.
I totally agree with Commissioner O'Neill, and you did a great job running the committee, and it was educational, and I think it is a very small proportional difference. The only point of confusion on the motion is typically we do 2 votes, and we have the third vote based on the fiscal. And the fiscal, I thought usually we typically wait for have a vote on the fiscal side? I don't remember that.
That's actually what I was getting at when I was thinking about April. But when I work with staff on the agenda, we'll fix that.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry about that.
Because normally the comptroller comes back and we don't have. Normally that's pretty quick. So I approve of what we're proposing here, and I think that hopefully the citizens will see that the better representation, because currently when we do the repopulation in 32, certain populations are going to get nullified because of just the size of the county. So I think it would be much better representation for many of the communities that are not represented currently. So we have a good chance, and I hope and I approve, and hopefully the voters will too.
Yeah, I'm just going to have one comment from the chair, and that's to congratulate Member Shower, who served on the 1988 committee that established the 6 districts. That district was not about budget or growth or population or anything like that. It was about creating a more diverse population on the Board of County Commissioners. It created the 6th district, and it eliminated single-member districting, which excluded African Americans from the board, excluded Latinos from the board. The change created District 6, which led to the creation of the 1st district that allowed African Americans to be elected. They elected Commissioner Butler. I followed her. Commissioner Siplin followed me, and then Commissioner Scott followed her. So that was a great move forward for the county. During that same time, we also added Commissioner Mary Johnson and other representatives from the Latino community. So I just wanted to make sure we understood that was a historic vote. Great vote. This is a great committee report, but the vote in 2088 had nothing to do with the things we're discussing today. So I want to Commissioner Shower, appreciate you. Great job. Please. Great job. All right, so The Godfather. She calls him the Godfather. But having said that, we have a motion. I'm going to call for questions. I'm sorry, Member Batchelor. I'm sorry, excuse me.
I told you were ruining my button here. So
We need to try to get in one, though, really.
just a clarification and then a question of the committee chairman. The motion in tonight, if I understand, it passes, but it will be back before us again.
Yes.
With the fiscal note.
Yes.
Because if my numbers were right, it's about a $6 billion fiscal impact, I think, to add 2 new commissioners on an annualized basis.
That is approximately,
Well,
yes.
6 million?
I thought.
No.
I thought I saw. If you go back to.
So there's one-time costs of 2.4 million.
2, 3, 4, 5. There's close to 6 million.
No, and then there's that's the one-time cost, 2.4 million. That includes the cost of the election, cost of redistricting, the capital costs, and that's 2.4 million.
So only 1.2 is
1.2 is
recurring.
Each commissioner has a $600,000 budget for their office.
Yeah.
That includes their staff and other things. So we just took that and multiplied it by 2, and that's 1.2. So once you get past the 2.4, it's 1.2 million annually.
Okay. I have some questions, but out of tremendous respect for your work and your committee's work, I would support the motion tonight, and then maybe we can publicly advertise the meeting between you and myself, so I can.
Or you're welcome to join us at our next committee meeting, because we're not done. We've had 14 meetings, but we're still.
I know you have, and I missed all 14.
I did have one question, though, and that question was, I know that we've compared ourselves to various counties, but there are 7 large counties in the state. We're one of the 7. And my concern was how do these numbers compare with what the other 6 large urban counties are doing, and the population that we're using includes the cities. The population they're using for their county commission districts, does that include the city population as well?
It does.
And where do we stand in terms of number of residents per voter?
We've got a spreadsheet, but I can tell you of all the counties, the large 7 counties, our commissioners at 246,000 residents per commission district, which these are based on 2022 numbers. Other than Hillsborough, we're at the top.
Okay, I'm going to ask that when we bring this back for the second time, that those numbers be in the presentation.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Member was it Batchelor?
No.
Member Cowan.
Okay. I thought when we were voting on the committee, it was a vote to transmit it to the overall committee, not really whether I was supporting the idea or not. And so tonight, I mean, I thought we were just voting it to get it out of committee to the overall committee.
That's correct.
And we weren't going to make a recommendation.
Yes, I'm going to direct to legal, but that is an important correction, because that is the way we've handled everything else that's come out of committee. I'd forgotten that, but let's get clarification.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to make sure we're consistent with everything that's coming before the board.
No, I'm just trying to say that.
No. One thing I want to mention. So far, we haven't had any. We've only had one other issue we had to vote on, and that was the rural boundary. So how did we handle the vote on that?
Let me rewind, and I want to try to sort through a couple things here.
It's a good question.
So generally, kind of the default action coming out of committee, if it's making a recommendation, is to vote out a recommendation to the full CRC. Okay, and I'm sorry, Member Callan, if there was any lack of clarity with regard to the exact nature of that motion. A motion coming out of a committee to recommend a certain action would be, a vote in favor would be to recommend that action, as opposed to, merely the procedural thing. Yes, this is what a majority of the full CRC, this is what majority of what the committee has said they want to do, so I'll vote for it, and just to get it out of here and get to the full CRC. If that was, in fact, your intention, Member Callan, you are completely welcome to so state, and then if it's your desire to vote against, the motion that's on the floor.
I think it's different from that. When I at the beginning of the meeting, and I did it at the last meeting as well, I discussed the way we would handle votes. It said, number one, we would accept the report of the committee. Number two, we would reject the report of the committee. Number three, we would accept the proposal with change and remand it back to the committee. And I think that's what Member Callen is getting to. If we accept it today, and actually I made the error earlier when I said that this would be our first reading of a motion. So actually he's correcting. Let me finish. He's correcting my statements. We should be, and I thank you for that. We should be accepting the recommendation of the committee and then scheduling it for the first vote. That's what we really should be doing. And so the direction that I have us on now is we're actually accepting the motion to approve the recommendation. The others were handled differently because they were motions to reject, but this is a motion to move forward. So I think the motion itself. My recommendation, and I'm going to ask you to just bear with me, is that we monitor. Can you go back to the motion, the main motion on the screen? And Mr. Callen, you see where I'm going? And it says to accept the Governmental Structural Committee's recommendation for the expansion of the BCC, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what that's what the motion says. We're accepting it. But the question the error that I made is that I was considering this is our first vote. This is really not the first vote. This is just a vote to do exactly what the motion says, accept the Governmental Structures Committee, and then give me a chance to schedule it for hearings.
Yeah, and because my concern is, I share.
I think I made a mistake.
I share Commissioner Wynn's concern about the cost, and we don't have defined cost yet.
Yeah.
And I still go back and forth whether or not going to 8 versus 6 will be as effective. But being on the redistricting committee with Mark, one of the issues we had was where part of when you redistrict commissions, you have to look at where the commissioners' homes are as part of the redistricting formula. And because of where their homes are, you have these oddly shaped districts in Orange County.
No, I think the motion is actually correct. I think my explanation of the way we would handle the motion is inaccurate. The motion just simply says we accept the Governmental Structural Committee. So I think the motion is still the right motion, except I want to make sure that I've explained it to the board correctly.
We're not finalizing this.
Right. This is, in other words, in error, I stated that this was the first reading, but this is not the first reading. This is just an acceptance of the staff's report. And then we have capable staff over here, so y'all can opine. But that's the way that's the way I intended to handle it. So, and I think the motion is correct.
Mr. Chairman, just a question, because Attorney Wilson and I had discussed this. So it was our understanding that this was the first reading. The second reading was when the comptroller brings back the fiscal analysis. That's the second reading. But there's also a third hearing because we have to approve the final report in June. So there's 3 different votes on. Well, the third vote is on the whole report.
But there should really only be 2, and that's what I was getting at when I was trying to remove the word April, because one staff makes a recommendation to me for an agenda, and then if we have the financial statement from the comptroller, I'll package that all together, and it'll be one package. It won't be 2 votes. We'll do it. We'll be able to do it in 2 votes. I can't imagine that it'll take 3 votes to do this. But I think the motion is correct, but my explanation, I think, was not. And staff and legal, I see the quizzical face on legal's face.
And Chairman, I would offer the following. In reviewing the rules that you have, the way I had read it was that effectively when a committee brought an affirmative recommendation to put a charter amendment on the ballot, all right, it could come as a presentation from the committee, making this recommendation, and then it could be put on the agenda for review and look at the exact language here because it comes directly from your rules on for discussion and consideration.
That's my understanding.
There are 2 basic requirements in the rules that you've adopted: that a proposal be on an agenda for discussion and consideration at 2 separate meetings, and that it be noticed for a final vote.
Can
Okay,
you read the-
specifically called out on the, had been staff's understanding going into this that this would be the first of those minimum 2 times.
That's what it says.
And then at a subsequent meeting scheduled in April, that might be the one on April 4th or what have you, the very early April, it might be later in April. When we have the comptroller information back, it would be before the CRC again to hear that additional information from the comptroller. And then we would have it on that agenda, notice that a final vote may be taken at that meeting. You could take a final vote there, or the CRC could say, let's put it off a little bit more. We'll renotice it again, have another final vote.
I think I would like to read that again. My understanding is totally different, that we would accept the report of the committee, and then we would public notice the vote on the final item twice. And so I don't know, I'm not looking at it now, but I would like to see it. That's what I'm
Understood.
supposed to
And
do.
if that's the way you'd like, you're the chair.
Yes, I
So
would prefer that.
implementing these rules in the first instance,
Yes.
is how you make it happen.
Yes.
So
I don't want
we
to
can
create any
certainly
confusion
make
in
that
the
happen.
public that we did not publicly notice a vote to put something on the agenda, and we've said that we would. That's my main concern.
Understood.
So if there's someone that sees it differently, I see 4 people that would like to speak, so I won't. If I'm misinterpreting that, we've heard from staff. I think I have it right.
Mr. Chairman, I think you're interpreting it right, number one, but number two, I think the thing that has to be said is that the reason for those 2 hearings is before public input, because we haven't had a public hearing on the issue, and that has to be kind of unfettered opportunity, so I agree with you.
I think I'm right on that, too. Of course, both of us can be right. But,
Yeah, but he's getting paid.
Well,
all right,
we can absolutely implement it the way the chair's indicated.
Yes, let's do that. And that way, the motion is actually correct. It's acceptance of the staff report. And I'm going to clear the queue. Member Callen, Member Shower, Member Sicardo, or is it Sicardo or Prophet? And then Member O'Neill, and then if we can close discussion and vote on the motion.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. To the precise motion, the motion was written and was made in reference to scheduling the proposal for a final vote.
Correction.
So if it's the intention that we would have a procedure whereby there would be a final report from a committee, and then at a subsequent meeting a first vote,
Just the
and
word
then at
final
yet a
and the word
subsequent
April.
meeting a second vote, then I would suggest
Subject to
the motion could be revised to say scheduled proposal for final votes.
Accept the government instructions, recommendations. Yeah, supposed to, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, you need a motion for that amendment to the motion?
No, I think the question is how do we fix this motion? We have a chair.
I do have a question. The required fiscal analysis that is done by the comptroller, would that be, we have to vote on that twice?
No, sir, I don't see that. It'd be in the same, in other words, if we're going to vote on the motion, if we don't like the financial analysis, then we're going to vote against the motion. I mean, if they don't jive.
Okay.
So I think that's okay. Now, we still have a bunch of folks on the queues, but I think that's okay. The motion, the financial analysis is going to tell us what it's going to cost. That's the known. The question is it cost something that we are willing to put forth to the voters? But I think we can do it in one vote.
Okay.
Chairman, I want to flesh out one little thing that's kind of built into this motion. I was going to be mentioning it at the end of the meeting as well. So since the last time I served as general counsel to the CRC, which the most recent time had been all the way back in 2016, the comptroller's office has instituted a policy that in doing the financial impact analyses for the Charter Review Commission, that they would require action from the full CRC requesting that financial impact analysis. Built into this motion is the comptroller would do that analysis, okay? And so I think the approval of this motion would trigger that required piece.
I'm thinking can we do that in 2 motions? One motion to request the financial analysis and one motion to accept the recommendation of committee?
if it's the will of the commission,
You
absolutely.
see, I'm thinking for simplicity. Member Staccato?
I mean, historically, we did it in 2 votes, and we would accept and vote on whatever was being considered at the first vote. That would trigger the comptroller, and by the time we came back for the next one, then we had
That's
the
what I'm
second vote with the money tied to it.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
For efficiency, if we do it 3, we might we're going to push out to June.
I think we can do it in 2. Member Shower, and then Member O'Neill, and then we'll try to close it out.
I want to make some changes in terms of what I think happened here in terms of the population. Orange County's population is 4,450,000 to 5, so that balances what you said. Orange County is 1,000,005. But if you take all the cities out, you lose about almost 500,000 people, so you're down to 1,000,000. So that's 1/3 of your analysis, that when you divide the cost of this activity by just the 2 commissioners into the $1 million that it costs us now, I think your numbers are going to be different, okay?
Can I answer that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Regardless of whether you live in a municipality or you live in unincorporated Orange, you're still represented by. We got that from Mayor Demings, because Mayor Demings represents all the residents of Orange County. Even if they live in the municipalities, he's still their mayor. So the analysis that the chair brought up as far as looking at the counties, if we divide our population by the number of districts, we still have among the highest. Each member of the commission is representing close to 250,000 people.
Okay, thank you. My recommendation is, and this is just for further discussion, is that we split this up into 2 motions. The second motion, it would really kind of be kind of perfunctory because it would happen automatically. But the first motion should be to accept the Governmental Structural Committee's recommendation for the expansion of the Board of County Commissioners by 2 members in 2026. That will be my recommendation for the second motion, first motion. The second motion would be to direct the county comptroller to initiate an impact fee analysis to correspond with the recommendation. And I'm not sure we need both of those, because I think the comptroller automatically gets triggered if we vote this, but I'm going to leave it up to legal. But that would be my recommendation for the motion. Tell me what you're thinking.
The motion as it was crafted there was crafted to handle all those things.
Okay. And just leave off the final part about schedule the final meeting.
Mr. Chair, can I make a motion?
Yes, sir. We have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
He would have to withdraw the motion. But can we have your comments, Mr. Count?
No, I have no more comments, but I just make a motion, we accept the committee's report and add the two seats in 2026.
I would support that too. If that was
That's same as my, okay. So
except we're eliminating the final part about the final vote.
Let me weigh in here. There's a memo that was sent a week ago or so by Eric Gassman. Could one of you pull it up and read what he said in that memo? It's a memo regarding what specifying what the provisions in 703R, Section 703 of the Charter that require a fiscal impact analysis. He needs direction from the full CRC, and he needs a copy of the ballot language.
Okay.
The comptroller does, the proposed ballot language.
That is correct. We can submit that to him, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go back to my recommendation is solely that we have 2 separate motions. And I want to ask the maker of the motion if he'll accept a modification of his motion to accept the Governmental Structures Committee recommendation for the expansion of the Board of County Commissioners by 2 members in 2026, subject to final impact analysis to be provided by the county's comptroller, period.
Okay. I will withdraw my motion and I'll accept that one. So my motion is to accept the Government Structures Committee recommendation for the expansion of the Board of County Commissioners by 2 members in 2026, and present it and schedule the proposal for a final votes. Did I capture everything? That's my first
The
motion.
final votes part, that's Mr. Vice Chair Shower.
Yeah, I'd like to, accommodate the chairman of the committee by just accepting the report. We're going to have 2 official meetings, and it clarifies the fact that we're not accepting the report in terms of what the members of that committee said. We're just accepting their report.
And this
If
is
that's
not a
what
vote
I've-
against what the committee is saying. This is just saying procedurally, this is would be the right way.
Point of inquiry again. Chair?
Yes, this is just to accept the committee
Yeah,
report.
I mean,
Right.
there's 2 motions I
That's
think
all.
you were here. First motion is just to accept the report, plain and simple. The second motion is this, so we can get the comptroller moving.
The first motion, once it passes, then I'll make a second motion to have the CRC direct the county comptroller to provide a fiscal
that
impact
works.
analysis to us.
But then I'm going to ask, and this is, I want to ask that the initial motion and the second be withdrawn, and that the chair make another motion.
I withdrew my motion.
Okay, and the second has been withdrawn?
I'll second.
Okay, and the new main motion is? Staff want to repeat that if you have it?
Main motion is to accept the report.
Can I, Chairman, would you mind if I ask a question so I can try to
Yes.
move this, sir?
Please.
Is the thought to just accept the report, have a second motion to request that the comptroller prepare a financial impact statement?
Correct.
And then not say anything one way or the other about scheduling final votes?
Correct.
All right.
And then staff will work on agendaing the item.
Then my recommendation would be the first of 2 motions would be that the CRC accept the Government Structure Committee's recommendation for the expansion
Not
of the
recommendation.
BCC by 2 members
Yeah,
in
it is
2026.
Just accept the report.
Second.
We have, no, the attorney can't make a motion.
All right, I'll make the motion again.
It's seconded by Member Weinsberg. All in,
Wait, no, wait.
You can vote against it.
no, he,
Someone can say
I'm
so
gonna,
moved.
I'm gonna.
okay, can we have a call to
So
order?
it's very clear.
Can we
I'm
have
gonna
a call
read
to order to slow us down just a little bit? I'm going to ask, the motion has been withdrawn, the second has been withdrawn. I'm going to ask the chairman to make a new motion.
Okay, so my motion is to accept the Government Structure Committee's recommendation for the expansion of the Board of County Commissioners by 2 members in 2026.
Second.
We have a second by Member Weinsberg, motion by Chair Della Patella, talking too much. We're now open for discussion on the main motion. I see Mr. Shower, Mr. Staccato, no, just Mr. Shower and Mrs. Nguyen.
Mr. Chairman.
It's not me.
Okay,
It's me. It's
Okay.
not me.
Mr. Batchelor.
Mr. Chairman, add me to that list.
okay, so it's going to be Member Shower, Member Nguyen.
No, it's Riley. It's Riley.
Riley, got it.
Take me off.
Riley.
Got it. Shower? No, Member Riley? Member Riley? Yes, ma'am, please.
It's you. That's you.
You want me to speak?
Okay, so I'm trying to, based on what I think I just heard, it's the reading of what's up here right now, okay? Are we accepting the committee's recommendation or just the committee's report?
That's what I'm saying.
The report.
Okay.
And the report
But
contains.
the motion still said the recommendation
Right.
by 2 members in 2026. It was the
It's,
same motion.
Right.
Okay, so it's 10 cents or a dime, isn't it?
But my question, but I'm not finished. I'm not finished
You're
though.
okay to change that though, right?
No,
No, I'm not finished though.
okay.
My question is, if this is the direction we're going in for this, do we have to go back and change anything on the one that we voted for with regard to the mayor being in the executive and legislative side?
No, because we rejected those.
No, there was a vote. No.
No, but we rejected them, so we're not voting to approve them. If we reject them, they're just killed.
No, we accepted the mayor. We didn't reject it. To keep it the same. So as long as it's remaining the same, we don't have to bring it back. Okay.
By the way,
But right now, the motion is the same that was read before.
Member Shower?
I'd like to see eliminate the word recommendation in the motion, if they accept it. Because it leads you to believe that we've accepted the recommendations. I think we accept the report now, and then we have 2 meetings to discuss the
Member Shira, the report does have a recommendation to expand the commission. So if you accept the report, you're accepting the recommendation. But there's still another, we still have to get the fiscal impact analysis.
I know, but
I'm going to
still,
call a question. Just call a question.
it may be,
Okay. We've had question call. I still have 3 people, but I want to accept the question. It's been our policy. We have a call for question by Member Staccato. We have a second by Member Grimmer. All in favor of the motion to call for question, signify by aye.
Aye.
We'll now have a vote on the main motion. The main motion will be explained by staff. And okay, the main motion is to accept the governmental structures recommendation for the expansion of the BCC by 2 members in 2026. That is the main motion. It's been seconded. All in favor? Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
We look for.
What about no?
All opposed say no. No. We have 2 voting no. That would be Member Nguyen and Vice Chair Shower.
And
we'll now look for a second motion and Member
3.
Member Batchelor. Correct. Did I miss anyone? Okay. The next motion will be to trigger the impact analysis, financial impact analysis. Member Chair.
Okay, so my second motion is to direct the Orange County Comptroller to prepare a fiscal impact analysis on the expansion of the county commission by 2 members in 2026.
Second motion.
It's been seconded made by Chairman De La Portilla, seconded by Member Batchelor. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Unless there are further discussions by the board, we will.
Quick one.
Adjourn.
No, we still have to have discussion if someone wants to discuss.
You can go home if you want. Here, just to clarify what the procedure is.
Member O'Neill.
No.
No, he's allowed to be in discussion. Member O'Neill.
This is the final round of discussion,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yeah, we have.
Just to clarify the procedure, as you stated at the beginning of the meeting, you
Yes.
have 3 choices:
Yes.
to accept the report, to reject the report, or to return it back to the committee.
Yes.
As we didn't do, you said.
That's what we did, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what we did before, and that's
Yes.
what we're going to do with all the
Yes.
other ones. We're going to do one of 3 things.
Yes, sir.
Right?
And that's why I was respectful of the comment by Member Callan, because I had to vote correct, but my explanation was not. That's what I was trying to correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I usually don't talk quite this much, but I thought that was important.
Accept the report.
Member Batchelor.
Mr. Chairman, just 2 quick things. Again, I know I'm being redundant, but just to clarify for the record that there would be 2 public hearings,
Yes, sir.
right, on this issue, because I would expect you're going to get a lot of feedback.
Yes, sir.
The second thing I would like to suggest to the chair, if you don't mind, work with I guess you, in the previous press conference you had, you worked with the county PIO office, I would assume. In light of where we are with the presumption issue, and in light of where we are on other issues that are going to come before the commission, I think it would be timely again to at least get out a press release or meet with Steve Hudak from the Sentinel or somebody and sit down and really go over where we are on these issues so the public can be reminded of where we are and where we aren't. So that would be my suggestion, just as a suggestion.
I'll take that under consideration. I'll meet with staff and see if we can schedule that. And also, Member Staccato.
Just a quickie. I'm concerned that we have an end date of June. We have 3 meetings. That's a month and a half for every procedure. If we come in sometime in April, we might run out of time.
We're going to end up having 2 meetings in one of those months.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it right now, but my concern is maybe when we do this advertising, we say we're going to be accepting and the first vote. So we consolidate that into one meeting instead of stretching out to 3 meetings, because that's a month and a half.
And That's correct. Staff, I'll work with staff to coordinate that, and we won't make our attorneys frown up as much in the next meeting.
Yeah.
But also, we may have to have an additional meeting, which we'll work the schedule out with. But this is also an indication for the committees to get the job done. It's time to bring the train in. It's time to get the job done and get it to the board. So that's my comment to all the committees. Let's get this thing wrapped.
Chairman, before the CRC adjourns, I just wanted to make a recommendation to the point of managing our time to the end. Based on that policy that's been instituted by the Comptroller's Office, that only with direction from the full CRC will the Comptroller's Office prepare financial impact statements. Would the CRC entertain a motion to request that the Comptroller prepare financial impact statements for any proposed charter amendment reported out of committee?
I think that would be in line with what Member Stricardo is mentioning, that it would get us on track with our time. I think that would be a great way to do it.
So I would recommend that a motion could be in order from someone to that end.
It's been moved by Member Harris. Chair seconds that. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
A motion to adjourn by Member Prophet, seconded by Member Wynn. We are now adjourned.
See ya.